Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to an episode of Samuel. Ooh. I was trying to reread. It does take you a little bit of time, right, to get acclimated to a new story. And I was describing some of these stuff to my mother, right, when we were recording, and I misquoted the entire book of Ruth because it's all I know. But we're back. Hannah is here, right? She had Samuel, Elkanah, and then Elkanah had two wives, right? One made fun of her, Hannah made a vow, then they dedicated the son to the Lord. That son was Samuel. Samuel grows up. He gets dedicated from a priest named Eli. His two sons, evil. That's on them though, not us. And then Samuel was preaching. And then eventually, right? Ooh, what happens? Who left it? So this is chapter 3, right? We'll start reading and then we'll start connecting dots, sorry. Now the boy Samuel ministered to the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no widespread revelation. It was probably only like small groups that traveled, right? Such as Abraham. And it came to pass at that time, while Eli was lying down in his place, and when his eyes had begun to grow so dim that he could not see, and before the lamp of God went out in the tabernacle of the Lord, where the ark of God was, and while Samuel was lying down, that the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, Here I am. So he ran to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. But as we know in the Old Testament, here I am. I am. That's what Moses uses to call God. And then Peter references it in front of the Pharisees right after Jesus dies to kind of rile them up. Or maybe, I think it was Peter or Stephen. I think it was Peter. So that's like a direct, especially to them, right? If you knew. Here I am. He said, Here I am is calling? Here I am. So he ran to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. And he said, I did not call. Lie down again. And he went and laid down. He just dismissed him, right? My goodness. How many times has that happened? Then the Lord called yet again, Samuel! So Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. He said, I did not call, my son. Lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, nor was the word of the Lord yet revealed to him. Huh? He didn't know him, like, personally? He was still too young? Like, he knew the ideas, but maybe he didn't know him? I don't know. I'm looking back in chapter 2 and being like, he was wearing an ephod. A little miniature one right at the end of the day, but he was doing the thing. He knew God, but maybe he didn't know the Lord. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. So he arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you did call me. Oh, that's how it would have sounded. He said, Here I am. Oh, maybe I'm just reading too much into it. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Oh, wait, sorry. Here I am. Right, because you called me. For you did call me. Then Eli perceived that the Lord had called the boy. And he said, Oh, right. I'm a priest. So he perceived, and now he's explaining to Samuel. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, Go lie down, and it shall be, if he calls you, that you must say, Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. So Samuel went down and lay down in his place. Now the Lord came and stood and called as at the other times, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel answered, Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. Then the Lord said to Samuel, Behold, I will do something in Israel at which both ears of every one who hears it will tingle. Ooh, gonna make a big explosion? An explosion of ideas. In that day I will perform against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house from beginning to end. Right? Weren't his sons really bad? For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knows. Right, because his sons made themselves vile, and he did not restrain them. And therefore I have sworn to the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever. So Samuel lay down until morning and opened the doors of the house of the Lord, and Samuel was afraid to tell Eli the vision. But he already knew. So you should have been like, So God told me. I know. But when two people have a vision, oh, right. 17. 16. Then Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son. He answered, Here I am. Finally, you actually called. And he said, What is the word that the Lord spoke to you? Please do not hide it from me. God do so to you, and more also, if you hide anything from me of all the things that he said to you. Then Samuel told him everything and hid nothing from him, and he said, It is the Lord. Let him do what seems good to him. Right. So Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him. And he said, Wow, that actually didn't go as bad as I thought it would. And he just kept doing that, dude. That's crazy. That's faith right there, though. That's faith from a young boy. So Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him. And let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba knew that Samuel had been established as a prophet of the Lord. Then the Lord appeared again in Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of the Lord. And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Oh. So I just figured out how young Samuel gets to Philistine. And we'll read. As I said, he certainly has some Jewish roots here. Now Israel... Oh, sorry. And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. This is chapter 4. Now Israel went out to battle against the Philistines and encamped besides Ebenezer. and the Philistines encamped at Ephek. Who do you think started this battle? Probably the Philistines. And then the Philistines put themselves in battle's array against Israel, and when they joined battle, Israel was defeated by the Philistines. Oh no. Who killed about 4,000 men of the army in the field. When the people had come into the camp, the elders of Israel said, "Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord from Shiloh to us, that when it comes against us, it may save us from the hand of our enemies." So the people sent to Shiloh that they might bring from there the ark of the covenant and the Lord of hosts, who dwells between the cherubim. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. I don't think these two boys are making out of it. I don't think they're making it out of this. That's what I'm perceiving, you know? 5. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted so loudly that the earth shook. Wow. Now when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, "What does the sound of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews mean?" They then understood that the ark of the Lord had come into the camp. And if they hadn't done that, maybe they could have come back. And they definitely wouldn't have got it stolen. So, be careful with what you have, right, at the end of the day, I guess. So the Philistines were afraid, and they said, God has come into the camp. And they said, "Woe to us, for such a thing has never happened before. Woe to us, who will deliver us from the hand of these mighty gods?" They don't even understand what's going on, right? To say that they're gods. But yeah. There are the gods who struck the Egyptians. So they still don't understand that it's just the one. With all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and conduct yourselves like men, you Philistines, that you do not become servants of the Hebrews as they have been to you. Conduct yourselves like men and fight. So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and every man fled to his tent. There was a very great slaughter, and there fell of Israel 30,000 foot soldiers. That's a lot. Also the ark of God was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Yeah. I'm pretty sure all of that was just to kill those two. So think about, I guess, your actions at the end of the day. My goodness. Like, two priests got 30, not got them, but if the whole circumstance was to get them killed, they also, two people got 34,000 people killed in total, which is their actions have consequences, I guess, right? And they lost the ark. Israel's pretty much just in the wind now. It's always there, but you know what I'm saying. They would probably have to have a training arc, real Naruto style. Then a man of Benjamin came from the battle line the same day and came to Shiloh with his clothes torn and dirt on his head. He said, "We got messed up." Now when he came, there was Eli sitting on the seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of God. And when the man came into the city and told it, all the city cried out. And they said, right, because in their word, the Philistines are going to move in, right? Take them over, make them believe different stuff. Yeah, which is, I'm sure, at the end of the day is troubling. When Eli heard the noise of the outcry, he said, "What does the sound of this tumult mean?" And the man came quickly and told Eli. Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were so dim that he could not see. Then the man said to Eli, "I am he who came from the battle, and I fled today from the battle line." And he said, "What happened to my son?" I'm going to give him a pass because he's 98. But they both died. So the messenger answered and said, "Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there has been a great slaughter among the people." I'm sorry, I'm going to go with a way wittier response. "I fled from the front lines. I'm sorry, I forgot to check for your two dead sons." And the Ark of the Covenant has been captured, which is what you were actually worried about. Then it happened, when he had made mention of the ark of God, that Eli fell off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. For the man was old and heavy, and he had judged Israel 40 years. So, he got final destination. Not many people think about that. But, in a way, a little bit, I think, right? He fell off his seat because for the last 40 years he'd been eating too much. He was fat, and that's what broke his neck, and that's why he died. C'est la vie, you know? That's what it is. 40 years, wow. That's a lot. He should have been there, right, with the ark, even as a 98-year-old. Rode on top, or brought a carriage or something like that. I'm remembering, I think it's in Numbers, where they give each of the 12 tribes of Israel like 2 oxen or 6 oxen, something like that, to help them carry carts and whatnot. And they don't give this one tribe because they don't use it. But they could have took him. And that way, right, he would have died. That's going down with this ship. But he was blind and he couldn't go. I understand. God did it anyways. Yes. Ichabod. Now his daughter-in-law, Phinehas's wife, was with child, due to be delivered. And when she heard the news that the ark of God was captured and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and gave birth, for her labor pains came upon her. Premature. And about the time of her death, the woman who stood by her said to her, "Do not fear, for you have borne a son, So, the entire family's dead besides the son. Wow. Who's the son? Ichabod. Okay. Then she named the child Ichabod, saying, "The glory has departed from Israel, because the ark of God has been captured, and because her father-in-law and her husband were dead." And she said, "The glory has departed from Israel, for the ark of God has been captured." And I think a couple times throughout history, right, God leaves the Israelites alone. Almost like a timeout, if you will. Just kind of lets life happen to them. I think and I hope, right, at the end of the day, to teach them a lesson, and not in like a weird way, but like if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to be less off in the future, right? You won't be ready for circumstances and whatnot that would arise. So it is important, right, that you go do, and then obviously, right, he was ruling for the last 40 years. That and his sons and what they did, right, ultimately would have worked its way into like the culture and society. It would have probably, I would say, corrupted the people, but it's possible. Um, and they needed a little bit of a reset, you know? Love you, God. Tying up loose ends, you know? In this nice little beautiful gift. It's the Word of God, right? So, be better than Eli's sons. And who knows, maybe we'll see Ichabod in the future. So, um, I'll leave you with a blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Just like the peace that we all so desperately desire. But as I was talking to my mother earlier, right? Living kind of sucks. And I think it's just kind of supposed to be that way. Um, but the covenant that God has with Abraham and then extends in the New Testament, right, to the Gentiles and the rest of the world, is that like you give your life here to just live and do whatever, right? And the circumstances that would arise in the Bible, it's like while living your life, things happen. You go follow God. And I forgot what I was going to say, sorry. Right, but you go follow God. And just live your life. And then the afterlife is what you're really, like you don't have to go through any of that afterwards. You know? Which is, that's the real grace. So, thank you, God. Have a good day. Find some peace.